All right, hi Joey. Thank you for doing this interview with me. I just want to ask you a couple questions. So, just tell me about yourself and your background.
Well, as you know, my name is Joey. I've been coaching volleyball for about 6 years now. I've been around the sport and involved with it for about 15. Um, and all 6 years I've been coaching at the high school level. I started out at JV level and then I worked my way after a couple of years on to the varsity teams. And I coach both the boys and the girls teams at the school.
Did you have to go through any education?
Um, we, for the school portion of it, they set us up to do certain classes. We just have to do virtues classes, which is just how to properly treat and talk to the students and parents and things like that. We also do another class that's hosted by Notre Dame, which is Play Like a Champion, which just teaches coaches how to work responsibly with the students and educate them without kind of being harsh on them and understanding that they are student athletes, they are human, and they're not robots to be able to do everything perfectly. As far as other education that I've had, I went to school for kinesiology, so I've had other classes and backgrounds that helped me learn how to do movement and teaching with students and stuff.
Okay. What is your personal belief for coaching at a high school level, of course, with young adults?
At a high school level, it's a little bit kind of merged between going from a young age to a collegiate level. At a young age, you're pretty much all playing for fun. You're playing to have a good time and learn. When you go into a collegiate level, you're trying to play at a higher level to potentially go into a professional team. The high school level kind of bridges that gap. So it takes the fundamentals and the fun you learn as a young student, and it kind of amplifies it to get you ready to become an athlete at a next level if that's your wish. As a high school coach, most student athletes don't become collegiate athletes, and so I also feel that it's really important to make sure that the students will also learn the values of just growing up and of the values of hard work and dedication and teamwork and ethics, not just specifically sports related issues. So I kind of like to teach a little bit of life goals, life lessons while teaching the sport with it.
Okay. What is the importance of practice and bringing motivation to your teammates or athletes?
Practice is really important. As you can tell, if you've seen many teams play before, those who don't practice, it shows on the court. And I've had my fair share of teams, and I've had athletes ranging from those who just came out because they saw someone play one day, and those who came because they want to play at a next level. They want to go and play at a professional level eventually. So I've had those who haven't had practice and skill and come to play, and you can definitely tell the knowledge, the IQ level is very different from those who are constantly working hard and constantly growing up playing the sport. So we do make our practice mandatory because I feel that if you're going to be able to play in the games, know the sport, how we want you to play our style, and be able to build chemistry with your teammates, you need to be able to be at practice. If you're not at practice, you don't learn everything the coach needs you to, and you don't get to build that team camaraderie and that chemistry that you need to really excel at a sport.
Speaking about going to practice and not going to practice, do you believe punishment is more important in a sport or passion for the sport?
I believe passion is more important. A lot of my teams may tell you punishment. Like I said, I've coached a wide range of students. And a lot of the kids that I've coached really want to play, and they really want to work and do better. They just haven't been properly coached in the past to push themselves and to basically transform that passion into their abilities and into their playing. So they really love it, but they don't always push themselves. And whenever there's a punishment that needs to be given out, obviously there is punishments that need to be given out. It's part of it. They don't take it as I need to work harder, I need to do better. They just take it as I don't want to do it because it's not going to help me. But a lot of times what I've been trying to do as I've gone in my coaching career is find punishments that will help develop them in some aspect of the sport. Instead of just saying, okay, go run a lap, coaching volleyball, I'll have them do a set of sprints real quick because they need those fast twitch muscles. I'll have them do a couple burpees or maybe some box jumps because they have to be able to jump high and get above the net. So I try to do punishments that will still help their sport, and that's not just going to be useless.
Okay. How would you work with them as a whole team? Like working with them as a whole team, maybe taking some aside to work on something else because of their skill levels.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you come about that?
So what I like to do is having extra coaches is great. I've had a coach by myself before for an entire season for a couple teams at a time, and it's extremely hard, especially if you have practices overlap, and having to work with multiple people is really difficult to kind of really enhance the skill of those who need more work. And so what I like to do is I'll put them all in a drill together, and then we can see who needs what specific work, and we pull them out one by one. And we'll say hitters need work on this today, so we'll have our hitters go onto the other side of the court with our other coach, and we'll focus really on them and what they have to do there. The rest of the girls will continue doing the drill, and then as we kind of transition those hitters back in the drill will transition a little bit more to kind of allow those hitters to put those skills into play in that drill. And then we'll eventually pull different girls out with different skill sets that we need to use. So we always have a group drill going, but as we do, we'll try to pull girls and the boys in and out so that they could do individual work to help develop their skills.
That's good. What are social practices that you find needed or important for your athletes or any
So,
player?
like I had said before, I really think that chemistry is a big part of playing on any team at any level. So I always look for students and athletes who are open to meeting new people, working with new people, helping new people. So I don't try to typically see that if someone's just doing one thing and their thing only, and they could be a very skilled, very good player, but if they just stick to themselves, I don't really like to see that, and I try to bring that, bring the social awareness out of them so that they can help each other. Because what a lot of athletes don't understand that they need is they need their team. If you have a very good athlete on your team, a lot of times they might think that, oh, I'm better than the team, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and they're not on my level, so I don't need to deal with them. But the reality of it is that with the sport that I coach, which is volleyball, you need your team. You can't play on your own. I've had a team with one player, with two players, and it doesn't work. You're not going to win championships with that. You need to have a whole team who's able to work together and play at a higher level together. So I always look for girls who are willing to stay and help someone else, or encourage someone during a drill instead of yell at them and put them down, because it's important that every single person who is going to be ready to play in that game is at that same level. We don't want to have one person on the court who is a lot lower than everyone else because they're not getting that proper work and help, because all it takes is one person for the other team to find a weakness in, for them to get points, for them to gain, for them to start hurting our team's mentality. If we have one weakness on the team, then it shows, and the other teams and the other coaches can understand that and see it, so they try to pick on them. By picking on them, everyone else gets frustrated, and then the frustration builds and builds, and it becomes this huge domino effect to where every single person just gives up, doesn't want to play, and gets mad. And even when they are playing, they're too frustrated that they're not working on their skill, and it doesn't work out and transition right. So a big thing is just being aware of the other players, the other skill levels, and being willing to help out with everyone.
Okay. Do you have to adjust your workouts to each player, freshman to senior?
I definitely do. I adjust all of my workouts depending on the level of the student athlete that comes in. With the freshman, it's a lot calm at first, a lot more calm, to where they have to work their way up, because most elementary schools that I find right now aren't teaching the full skill of the sport. Usually a lot of my incoming students come in with basic general knowledge that anybody can look at and see just by watching one game. They don't come with detailed skill, detailed knowledge, and understanding of what type of movements and proper movements that they have to do. So all of my younger players, we have to really break down and work separately because they need to learn the proper techniques, the proper skills to move, how to move, what to do when they move this way and that way, and just their whole stamina and their fitness level is different. So they have to work up at a high school level now, because I had said before there's a difference between playing at a youth level and playing at a high school level. And so at high school level it gets a little bit more serious. So their fitness level isn't always up to the standards we need them at.
You also mentioned to me earlier that you actually videotape your girls when they practice on your phone and you use the slow-mo. Can you explain like how you exactly do that for?
Yeah, so a lot of the times I'm working with the athletes and they aren't quite grasping what I want them to do. I'm trying my best to explain it to them, to show it to them, but for some reason when they do it, in their head it feels like they're doing it right. And I've had that before where I've done the same thing, so I understand that. They're working and they feel they're doing it right, but it's not necessarily what needs to be done. So what I like to do is I like to film them on my phone and I'll put the slow-mo camera on because it really breaks down their movements so they can see exactly where they're making that mistake and where their adjustment needs to be. And ever since I started doing it, actually has been really good for them because they're able to see it better. When it's in fast motion, it's hard to catch every single movement that they're doing. But in the slow-mo cam, they're able to really break it down and kind of understand the movement type that needs to be done and what the corrections could do.
So you do see changes from that. That's actually bringing improvement.
Yeah, and what I like about it is they understand that too. So I'll have some of them come up to me and they'll ask me, "Oh, can you film me on this one so I can see what I'm doing wrong and so I can fix it?"
How do you stay informed with all the sports information and requirements for your athletes?
So if there's any extra classes or training we need to do, the school is very good with informing us about that and will set us up with the classes we need to get that all taken care of. But I follow a lot of professional and collegiate levels of volleyball. I always look online at the new subscriptions of like USA Magazine for volleyball and see any updates. CIF governs high school volleyball in California, and they're the ones who give us the rule books because every year there's couple different rules that will be adjusted, so we always get those books that come in so we can look, and it's all highlighted in one section of what the changes are, and then it just gives you the background of everything else that's there. So there's plenty of ways that we have available to stay up to date and current that we take advantage of.
Okay. And again, have you realized an increase in the participation with volleyball? Because I know for myself, when I played volleyball, there wasn't that many people wanting to play, but have you realized a difference in other schools and in this school?
So I think it fluctuates a lot depending on the area you're in. We had at one point a very good turnout. We had tons of girls. We had 3 full teams. We cut girls because we didn't have enough room for all of them. And then it slowly started to dwindle. Once our team got a little bit stronger, you would think you would get more players to come out and play. But it actually happened to be the opposite for us, for the girls' team. For the girls' team, once we started getting a little stronger, we started losing some players and some of that interest for people, new members, to come out. I am not sure if it's an intimidation factor where they feel that that team is too good or they're not ready to play at that level or what it is. But we did have a little decrease when that happened. Right now we're slowly getting a little bit more back, so we're working our way to increase. The hard part is the area we're in is a big issue. It's a big deal. There's not a strong volleyball presence in the location in the surrounding cities of where we're at. So anywhere in this local area, it's not a big understanding of volleyball and the importance of it. So it's not like it's pushed as a mainstream sport that's been around in more high profile like a basketball team. That's being everywhere. You see it on TV all the time. Volleyball, you don't see on TV all the time. You don't see it in magazines. You rarely see it in commercials. Like, you have to go out and search for it. So in this area, it's not a strong presence of it, and since it's not readily available for them, it's just not something that people know about. As far as the boys team goes, surprisingly enough, we are getting a little bit more boys to come out now. Before we struggled to get one team. Now we're having about 2 teams this season, which is really good. I'm very excited about that. But just not just here, actually across the whole country, it's increasing and it's growing as a sport among the boys. And that's really exciting for me because when I started playing, it was almost non-existent. I had no clue there was boys volleyball until I came to high school and found that out when I got here. Now you'll see it a lot more at the elementary school level, and they're slowly starting to develop boys teams for elementary, club, and just recreational leagues so that they're getting introduced to it sooner, which is nice because now we're seeing a bigger participation with the boys team here.
Okay. And also, what knowledge do you use for more of the physical part of your athletes with what muscle groups they're using, or for them to be aware of these muscles that they don't want to injure themselves?
So, like I said, I have a kinesiology background for my setting, so I did take a lot of classes that taught us how to properly train our muscles, how to identify what muscles are being used where, and which movements, which exercises, which drills will harness what we need for a certain movement, you know, for jumping, for swinging, for, you know, passing, whatever the issue is. There's different movements that you're going to need, and it's not going to be the same every time. So having the background of it really helps me because I'm able to kind of understand what muscles are being used when you need to jump, you know, and not just what muscles are being used, how to properly train them. Because, okay, your legs get used, but we're not going to run 5 miles a day to train our legs for jumping. Sure, your legs will get in shape, but it's not going to get you in volleyball shape. We need to do plyometrics and we need to do sprints, get our legs strong to get those fast burst movements that we need. So that background really helps me a lot. The good thing is that I know how to properly train and acknowledge those muscles, so I make sure that all of my athletes stretch well before. That's the first thing. We warm up our muscles, we stretch out, we warm up a little bit more, and then we get into practice. And as we cool down after practice, they stretch again. Our trainer here is actually really good with helping to prevent any injuries. If anyone feels anything, we go right to the trainer so that they can continue to rehab and just work those muscle groups that they need so that we don't have future injuries for them.
Thank you so much for doing this interview with me and answering all my questions.
No problem, thank you. Get them to the next level, to the next step in their high school career, and then eventually if they want to move on. But I don't expect my new incoming girls to be able to do what my juniors and seniors are